Welcome back to the deep dive. If you've ever had that feeling, that sort of nagging, pervasive feeling that you're just fundamentally misaligned with the world around you.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe you're scrolling on your phone at 2 in the morning or feeling this high-level stress about threats that aren't even physical.
Right. Abstract threats.
Or you're just constantly comparing your life to these perfectly curated feeds of, complete strangers. If any of that sounds familiar, then today's deep dive is definitely for you.
It really is.
We are going straight into the heart of, I think, the great existential paradox of our time.
Yeah.
This conflict between our ancient brain and our hypermodern world.
Exactly. And the core thesis, when you synthesize all the material we've looked at, is devastatingly simple.
What is it?
You are essentially running Stone Age software in a highly engineered modern environment.
Wow.
And that software, which was, it was brilliant for surviving predators and famine 10,000 years ago.
Sure, it worked then.
It's now being actively exploited for profit and for attention. So today we're diving into what is basically a comprehensive modern human survival Bible, boiling down some really complex evolutionary psychology into an actionable playbook.
And our mission today isn't just academic, it's intensely practical. We want to pull out the concrete, repeatable strategies for lack of a better term, living sanely when everything around us is designed to pull us off course.
It is. The fundamental insight is that your internal operating system, your brain, is optimized for a world that just doesn't exist anymore.
A world of small tribes, predictable roles.
Simple, scarce food and dangers that were physical and immediate. You could see the threat and you could run from it.
And if you just look around, modernity delivers the exact opposite of all of that.
It's true. We get infinite choices, which just causes decision paralysis. We have infinite strangers, which leads to this constant low-grade social competition.
Don't get me started on the food.
Right. Highly engineered foods designed specifically to hijack those ancient reward pathways. And then there are the abstract chronic threats, things like climate change or financial instability.
Things your brain recognizes as danger, but you can't fight or run away from.
Precisely. You can't resolve it with physical action. So that mismatch, that's the engine of 21st century anxiety, burnout, and just general dissatisfaction.
But the good news here, and there is good news, is that the sources all seem to agree on a pretty clear four-step playbook for survival, a method to consciously override those Stone Age defaults.
It's a sequence, and the order matters. First, you have to deeply understand your brain's specific modular operating system, the actors at play inside your own head.
Okay, so understand the system first.
Second, you learn to identify and control the environmental triggers that hijack those modules.
Which is key.
Third, and this might be the most important part, you stop relying on willpower. You just stop. And you proactively redesign your physical and digital environment to support your ancient brain instead.
And what's the last step?
Finally, you start running your life like a conscious, deliberate system, not just a series of, default reactions to whatever the world throws at you.
That roadmap is exactly how we're going to navigate this deep dive. So let's start with that central and often painful core mismatch itself.
Okay, let's really unpack this core contrast, because when you lay it out, it becomes so clear that the deck is stacked against us.
It really is.
Think about the environment our brain's architecture was finalized for. We're talking about routines that were defined by sunrise and sunset.
Simple, predictable.
Getting food required intense physical labor. Roles within a group of, maybe 50 to 150 people were crystal clear.
And status was visible, it was immediate, and you earned it through actual contribution to the group.
We were built for resource scarcity and immediate physical danger.
And what does the digital, globalized world deliver? It delivers algorithmic manipulation that's designed to keep what the sources call the night watchman module agitated. We'll get to that one.
And it keeps the go-getter module completely envious. It delivers overwhelming information, often engineered for outrage, and this ceaseless manufactured novelty that keeps the mating circuit in this constant state of unfulfilled seeking.
And this is where it gets really interesting for me. That chronic feeling of being overwhelmed. It isn't a moral failure. It's not a personal weakness.
No, not at all. It's a fundamental software/hardware conflict. The modern world has become the perfect environment for exploiting every single evolutionary vulnerability we possess.
From our drive for sugar and salt.
To our deep, deep need for tribal belonging. It's all being monetized.
So if you feel chronically stressed or anxious or unsatisfied,
Yeah,
You're basically just experiencing a brain misfire.
that's a great way to put it. The new world is sending all these constant, overwhelming signals that your ancient operating system just cannot correctly interpret.
It's like running 1,000 high-res, conflicting programs on a very old computer.
The whole system just bogs down.
And speaking of that operating system, we absolutely have to get rid of this idea that the brain is a unified, singular you.
That is the biggest misconception. The sources are clear that the brain is better thought of as 7 competing actors or specialized modules.
And they're not always on the same team.
Not at all. They often fight for control. And this is the critical insight for regulation. If you think of your consciousness as one single point, you have to rely on willpower to resist temptation.
And willpower is finite. It runs out.
It always runs out. But if you understand you have 7 specialized actors, each optimized for one job, you can learn to negotiate with them. Or even better, you manage the environment so they don't get triggered inappropriately in the first place.
Can we give a quick example of how these competing modules work?
What?
Let's take a simple modern stressor, like getting a slightly hostile work email late on a Friday afternoon.
That's a perfect scenario. So immediately, the Night Watchman module, that's the threat detector, it grabs the steering wheel. It sees that email as either social rejection or professional danger, and it activates anxiety, a fight or flight response.
But it's not the only one reacting.
No. Simultaneously, the go-getter module might chime in, worrying about the status implication. Did I lose rank? Do they think I'm incompetent?
Right. And then what?
Then maybe the team player module gets activated and it rushes you to send an immediate, overly agreeable apology because the idea of being excluded is just terrifying.
So you, the conscious mind, are stuck trying to mediate a fight between 3 panicking internal actors, all with different incompatible short-term goals.
And that's the chaos. The key to sanity, then, is learning when and why each of those 7 actors is grabbing control of the system.
So let's start meeting them. Let's dig into those 4 key survival actors, the modules that are all about ensuring our physical and social continuation. We have to begin with the one most responsible for the modern mental health crisis, the Night Watchman.
The Night Watchman. Its purpose is non-negotiable. Keep you alive. That's it. It's the ultimate defensive module, and it evolved for physical, immediate threats.
The tiger in the grass, the enemy tribe approaching the camp.
Exactly. But today, there are no tigers in the office. So it seeks out abstract threats, and that leads to chronic anxiety.
And the misfires are so familiar to all of us. Constant doom scrolling, catastrophizing about future events that are statistically, pretty unlikely.
Chronic insomnia.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that classic modern vulnerability overreacting, sometimes hysterically, to an ambiguous text message or an email. That little ping on your phone means danger.
It does. And what activates it? Well, anything that signals instability or danger. So negative news cycles, any kind of angry communication, financial uncertainty, social rejection, and all those abstract professional deadlines.
And when the Night Watchman takes over your whole system,
You physically expect the worst. You feel unsafe even when you're sitting in a perfectly secure room, and you start making highly defensive decisions, avoiding all risks, and even avoiding people.
I have to pause here because this is a really important point. Isn't telling people not to read the news before 11 a.m., for instance, dangerously simplistic, especially in a crisis? How do the sources handle that?
That's a great challenge, and it's a valid one. The sources emphasize that necessary information is really distinct from what they call stimulatory information.
Okay, what's the difference?
Your threat detector doesn't need novelty or outrage to function. It needs actionable data. So these strict regulation rules, they aren't about promoting ignorance. They're about timing and volume.
So the protocol is really specific.
It's very strict. No news before 11 a.m. The idea is to protect that crucial morning energy for productive work. And then no news after 7 p.m. to prevent activating fear circuits right before you try to sleep.
And the big one.
And critically, never enable breaking news alerts. Those train your brain to expect a constant state of emergency.
So it's really about making news consumption a deliberate, scheduled activity, not just a constant reactive reflex.
Precisely. And in addition to managing information intake, we have to deliberately manufacture physical safety signals because the threat detector is very literal. It operates on primal cues.
What kind of cues are we talking about?
This is all about environmental architecture. So warm, low lighting is perceived as safer than harsh fluorescent lights.
That makes sense.
Predictable routines feel safer than chaos. Tidy rooms signal control and security. Even using slow, deliberate movements signals calm, whereas rushed, frantic movement signals that there's a danger present.
And what about familiar objects?
Yes, the sources point to things like a favorite mug or a weighted blanket or even a specific scent. These things help signal stability because they link to positive, non-threatening memories. When your world is chaotic and noisy and fast, the night watchman just assumes danger is imminent.
And for those moments, those inevitable moments when panic just spikes and the watchman takes full control, there has to be a way to override it instantly.
There is, and it's physiological. It's not mental. It's a specific emergency grounding technique that's designed to immediately shut down the physical threat system through the vagus nerve.
Okay, walk us through it.
When panic rises, you engage your senses to pull your brain back to the present safe reality. So you look at 5 specific objects around you, you touch 2 different textures, and then the crucial physiological step.
The breathing.
Yes. You exhale twice as long as you inhale.
And that double-length exhale, that's the key.
It's totally evolutionary. When we sigh naturally, it's a form of downregulation. By consciously exaggerating that exhale, you are manually activating your parasympathetic nervous system, which tells your heart rate to slow down. It is much faster and more effective than any purely cognitive attempt to just think calm.
Okay, that brings us to our second survival module, compulsive, which is all about threats to our health. Its purpose is to protect us from disease, contamination, illness.
And again, it's running on some seriously outdated software. 10,000 years ago, pathogens were obvious. Bad smells, visibly rotting food, a sick person in your tribe.
But today, germs are invisible.
Right, so this module, when it misfires, manifests as obsessive cleaning, a really high disgust, sensitivity, social withdrawal because you're avoiding crowds, a fear of touching common surfaces.
And a general avoidance of novelty, because novelty to the brain could mean contamination.
Exactly. And the activators are so relevant in the age of global media. Illness news, huge crowds, gross images, and yes, those endless medical TikToks or graphic skin disease posts.
Pathogen porn, as the sources call it.
That's the term. It's content designed to trigger fear and disgust, and you're essentially training your compulsive module to be hyper alert to threats that are either non-existent or highly, highly exaggerated.
So the first regulation strategy is pretty simple. Just stop consuming it.
Stop reading health scare articles online. Just stop.
But beyond avoidance, we have to actually desensitize the compulsive module by introducing small, manageable exposures back into our routine.
Exactly. We need to train tolerance. The examples are small, but they're really powerful acts of defiance against that fear.
Like what?
Commit to shaking one stranger's hand per week, or eat one genuinely new food per week, or deliberately go 20 minutes without immediately reaching for the hand sanitizer after you touch a doorknob. You're giving your brain counter-evidence that the world is not, in fact, uniformly toxic.
And since this module is so heavily reliant on cues, we can actively replace the fear cues with control cues.
That's right. Instead of worrying obsessively about some unseen contamination, you use active control signals that the module recognizes as safe and clean.
How does that work in practice?
You could wear a clean, nice-smelling scent, or carry a clean personal object, a new stick of mint gum, a fresh handkerchief that reassures the compulsive module that you are in control of your immediate clean environment. It shifts the focus from external danger to internal mastery.
Okay, our third module is the team player, the quintessential social actor. Its job is crystal clear: keep you in the tribe.
And for good reason. Exclusion in the Stone Age guaranteed death.
This is where modernity just truly warps our psychology. That deep-seated fear of exclusion creates some severe misfires in the modern world.
Oh, it's a long list. The compulsive chasing of likes and validation, investing significant emotional energy in parasocial relationships with celebrities or influencers.
The feeling of loneliness despite having thousands of digital connections. Chronic FOMO.
And just generally being over-agreeable or a people pleaser because that need for approval is just so overwhelming.
And the activators for this are constant, given that the phone is always in our hand. Every smile, every compliment, every rejection, every notification, the brain is just ceaselessly scanning for inclusion or exclusion signals.
And the regulation is all about prioritizing density and quality over digital quantity. The sources are definitive on this.
30 seconds of intentional, consistent eye contact beats 100 likes on social media.
One intentional phone call or a shared meal beats 50 meaningless texts. We have to replace that ephemeral digital bonding with physical multisensory bonding to actually feed the belonging circuit what it needs.
And this requires actively designing a personal tribe. And consistency, it seems, is the most important component. It even overrides intensity.
Reliability is the language of tribal safety. The brain needs ritual. You have to establish a weekly gathering.
Like what? A Sunday hike?
Yeah.
A Tuesday board game night?
Exactly. Or a Thursday coffee. With the same people at the same place on the same day and time. This predictable ritual tells the team player module that the tribe is stable, it's reliable, and that your membership in it is secure.
But the most profound way to secure your place isn't just showing up. It's about being indispensable.
Contribution creates instant, deep belonging. It's that simple. If you are useful, your survival value to the tribe is high.
So you need to focus on what you bring to the table.
Be the person who always organizes the logistics or brings the best snacks or offers unique skills. Connect two people who would benefit from knowing each other. People bond fiercely to those who contribute tangible value. That ensures your survival circuit knows you are protected and, most importantly, needed.
All right, finally, for this section, we meet the go-getter. This module's purpose is to improve your rank in the tribe.
And in ancient terms, status meant everything. It meant better resources, better mates, and a higher chance of survival for your kin.
But today, that status drive just curdles into comparison addiction.
Career obsession, prestige anxiety, chronic imposter syndrome. When this module is activated constantly by our digital feeds, the jealousy and the compulsive, unfulfilling achievement cycles just never end.
The activators are literally everywhere.
Yeah.
LinkedIn updates, Instagram posts of your peers' achievements, that constant digital feeling of losing out on opportunities or just not measuring up.
We are comparing our raw, messy internal state to the world's hyper-curated external highlight reels. It's an impossible game.
So the first regulation strategy is mandatory. You have to radically shrink your comparison universe.
You absolutely must. The sources are adamant. You only compare yourself to 3 groups. First, your past self. Are you better than you were last year? Second, your best possible future self. Where are you heading? And third, your closest 3 to 5 real-world peers.
And everyone else.
Is simply white noise. It's a distraction from genuine, actionable progress.
There's a crucial distinction here that really clarifies why achievement can often feel so empty. The difference between prestige and dominant status.
This is so essential. Dominant status is built on fear or coercion or the ability to intimidate. It's unstable, it's high energy to maintain, and it leads to constant anxiety because you're always waiting for the next challenger.
Whereas prestige.
Prestige status is built on admiration, contribution, knowledge, generosity. It's stable and it's rewarding. So the go-getter should be constantly directed toward prestige goals, teaching, mentoring, building expertise. These satisfy the underlying need for rank improvement without inviting the instability and anxiety of just trying to assert power.
So we need to actively detox from the stimuli that push us toward that dominance model.
A specific status detox is necessary to reset your baseline. You have to unfollow the digital superstimuli.
So the fitness models. The billionaires whose lives are, let's be honest, statistically unattainable fantasies.
The hyperachievers, the influencers, you replace them with educators, local peers, real-world mentors, people whose achievements are tangible and whose content is genuinely enriching. It pushes you toward prestige, not aspirational misery.
We've covered the 4 immediate survival modules. Now we can transition to the modules that are dedicated to connection, reproduction, and the long-term future of the tribe, the relational circuits that define our deepest relationships.
And the first one is the swinging single module. It's purely optimized for one thing, attracting mates and procreation. It values novelty, aesthetics, and very short-term assessment.
And its modern misfires are pervasive. Dating app fatigue, where endless swiping leads to what the sources call partner shopping.
Treating potential humans like products on a shelf.
Exactly. There's also porn addiction, ghosting because there's this expectation of infinite choice, and chronic short-term thinking, which often results in impulsive spending to look better or get some kind of immediate superficial status boost.
It's highly activated by novelty, sexual imagery, and competition. And since the modern environment serves up constant novelty and artificial perfection through filters and social media, the mating circuit is kept in this constant state of excited but ultimately unfulfilled arousal.
Always seeking the next, potentially better option.
Which may not even exist. So the first step in regulating this module is controlling the input, what the sources call visual calibration control.
So you have to actively avoid porn, airbrushed models, filters, all of that hypersexualized superstimuli.
You have to, because those inputs completely skew the mating circuit's expectations. They set an impossible standard that just leads to dissatisfaction when you're interacting with real, flawed, beautiful humans. Recalibrating your desire toward reality is the only way to move from seeking to actually connecting.
And we also have to address the choice overload that's just inherent in dating apps.
The apps trick your brain into believing that perfection is just one more swipe away, and that leads to choice paralysis. So the regulation strategy is to limit that expectation of infinite choice and aggressively focus on deep, non-decaying traits.
This brings us to the deep five. Why are these traits so critical, and why do the sources call them non-decaying?
These are the traits that the sources argue the long-term partner selector, the good spouse module, which we'll get to, actually needs, even if the short-term module, the swinging single, ignores them.
And they are.
Kindness, stability, responsibility, emotional regulation, and loyalty. They're called non-decaying because they're behavioral and architectural. They're not like looks or wealth, which can fluctuate over a lifetime.
Emotional regulation and loyalty are huge for long-term survival.
Absolutely. So the explicit instruction is this. You should choose a partner when 4 out of these 5 traits align consistently, rather than holding out for some mythical physical perfection.
So if the mating circuit gets you the date, the good spouse module is responsible for the vital work of maintaining a secure, stable bond.
And its misfires are subtle, but they're incredibly corrosive. Things like chronic overanalysis of the relationship.
The lurking fear of missing out on a potentially better partner.
Right, because the swinging single is still occasionally chiming in. And the chronic dissatisfaction that comparison inevitably breeds.
And it's activated by shared rituals, emotional safety, and physical affection. The brain is constantly looking for cues that the attachment bond is secure.
To regulate this, the sources suggest something really fascinating. It's the use of scientifically adaptive positive illusions.
Positive illusions.
It's the conscious decision to think of your partner as slightly more attractive, more generous, and more reliable than cold, hard reality might strictly dictate.
Okay, wait. I understand the psychological benefit there, but doesn't actively thinking your partner is more attractive than they really are sound exhausting? Or maybe even a little dishonest? What's the real-world benefit?
The benefit is survival and stability. The Relationship Keeper module, its top priority is attachment security, not perfect objectivity. So if you believe your partner is uniquely good, your brain starts looking for alternatives. It reduces the threat level and it maximizes your investment in the relationship you have. The Good Spouse module is interested in the long-term bond, and positive illusions are a powerful mental defense mechanism against the constant digital temptation that the swinging single is always seeing.
And consistency in demonstrating that bond through weekly rituals is crucial.
Yes, the brain needs those predictable cues. The example ritual from the sources is very structured, and it's designed to reinforce a positive shared history and a sense of utility.
What is it?
Every Friday night, phones away, for 30 minutes, focused on one key question. What went well this week between us? It forces your attention onto the positive, the shared resources.
And the ultimate bond protector is what they call the no alternatives rule.
Comparison is an attachment killer. This is a non-negotiable mental discipline. You have to actively refuse to compare your current partner to exes, to celebrities, to strangers, or to your friends' partners. The Good Spouse module must operate under the belief that this is the chosen best partner for the job of life. It reinforces stability and trust, which is the foundation of any long-term bond.
Our final module is the parent, or kin circuit, and this is focused on the most critical long-term investment, the future of the species, the next generation.
And in our modern, isolated environment, its misfires are highly visible. We see chronic burnout, debilitating guilt over not being able to do it all.
Excessive sacrifice and hypervigilant overprotectiveness because we lack a true tribal safety net.
It's activated by vulnerability, by dependence, youth, and long timelines. This module thrives on investing time and resources into the next generation's success.
So the first regulation strategy directly addresses that isolation mismatch. We have to build what the sources call alloparents.
Yes. We did not evolve for 2 exhausted adults trying to raise children alone in a house. We evolved for 10 to 20 adults sharing the burden.
So today, that means consciously recruiting grandparents, trusted friends, neighbors, community members to share the load.
It spreads the energetic cost, and it signals to the parent module that the kin, the children, are safely supported by a wider tribe.
And we also need to stop striving for this idea of fairness in task division, which seems to create as much stress as it solves.
The sources advise dividing tasks by energy and comparative advantage, not by a rigid sense of fairness.
What does that mean?
Instead of trying to split everything 50-50, partners should focus on what each person is good at, what they enjoy, and what they can sustain without hitting burnout. This drastically increases efficiency and it reduces the resentment that can cripple the functioning of these relational modules.
And finally, managing the often unrealistic expectations that surround the experience of parenting itself.
We have to consciously replace the pursuit of moment-to-moment happiness with the pursuit of meaning.
That's a huge shift.
Yeah, it is. Parenting increases meaning, which is a long-term resource for the parent module, but it doesn't necessarily deliver constant, immediate joy. This reframing manages expectations and helps the module focus on that long investment horizon rather than the immediate and often exhausting daily grind.
Okay, so we have spent a significant amount of time defining the 7 actors, the software. Now we have to pivot to the hardware upgrade because the sources are extremely clear on this. Willpower is a losing game.
It's the narrative thread that connects everything. Willpower is finite. The temptations of the modern environment are infinite. If the environment is engineered against you, you have no choice but to engineer it for you.
And this is where our evolutionary wiring is most blatantly exploited. With food.
Absolutely. Our brains are wired for sugar, fat, salt, scarcity, and binging because that was adaptive in the Stone Age.
And modern food scientists have engineered products that perfectly hijack those pathways, leading to chronic overconsumption.
And the core rule for fighting back against the food engineers is non-negotiable. If it's in your immediate environment, the ancient survival circuits will interpret it as an available resource.
And you will eat it.
You will eat it. Therefore, you must fix the environment.
This leads to the modern eating system, which relies on a strategic manipulation of 2 things: visibility and friction.
Let's start with visibility.
Step 1, 0 junk food visibility. This has to be strict. No cookies on the counter, no chips on the shelves, no soda visible in the fridge, no candy bowls.
And crucially, remove those food delivery apps, Uber Eats, DoorDash, from your phone's home screen entirely.
Yes, if the night watchman sees it, it interprets it as immediate, easy resource availability, and the go-getter demands it now.
And conversely, you want high, healthy food visibility. You make the good stuff the default option. A big bowl of fruit should be piled high on the counter. Pre-cut, ready-to-eat vegetables should be in clear eye-level containers in the fridge. Water bottle should be ready to grab. When those primitive circuits scan the environment for resources, the healthy option has to be the most visible and the most accessible.
Okay, and step 3 is strategic friction. This is where we make the bad choice require actual physical effort.
You make unhealthy food high friction. Put the cookies in an opaque sealed box on a high shelf, ideally in the back of the garage or the basement. It needs to necessitate a deliberate walk and effort to retrieve it.
And at the same time, healthy food is low friction.
Pre-washed salad greens, hard-boiled eggs, pre-cut vegetables, they have to be front and center in the fridge. This ensures that in a moment of weakness, the bad choice requires so much physical and mental effort that the primitive brain just gives up and chooses the easy, healthy default.
Beyond arranging the environment, what are the specific feeding rules to regulate the actual process of eating?
You have to control the speed and the volume. So eat slowly. Chew more than you think is necessary because this aids in signaling satiety to your brain.
Use smaller plates.
Use smaller plates to trick your visual circuit into perceiving a larger serving. Use warm, zero-calorie beverages like tea to reduce that immediate hunger impulse.
And the foundational rule for controlling impulsive choices.
Never eat while watching screens, which distracts the brain from satiety signals, and only go grocery shopping after you've eaten when that scarcity circuit is quiet and satisfied.
The second major domain where the environment fails us is digital work and focus. Our brains did not evolve to sit and stare at abstract, glowing rectangles for 8 hours a day.
Not at all. We evolved for physical tasks, short bursts of intense work, immediate feedback, and managing visible danger. Digital work is fundamentally unnatural, which is why we have to engineer the conditions for deep focus, using what the sources call the focus protocol.
We're basically running a life support system for the ancient brain while asking it to do these 21st century tasks.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
And the first step is non-negotiable. Kill notifications.
Disable all of them. All social app notifications, banners, badges. Allow only phone calls and direct messages from your key tribe members. Every single notification, even the ones you think you're ignoring, is a trigger that pulls the team player or the night watchman module to attention. It fragments your focus, and it costs you minutes of productive time.
The next rule is one that people often resist, but the sources insist it's critical. The phone goes outside the room.
This is not optional. A phone in a different room, inaccessible during your focus periods, increases measurable productivity by 50 to 80%.
50 to 80, that's huge.
It's massive. The mere presence of the phone acts as a constant cognitive load. It demands the go-getter's attention, even when it's muted or face down. You have to create a space where the ancient brain knows the digital parasite is gone.
And we also need to work with our biology, specifically our ultradian rhythms, instead of fighting for 8 straight hours of focus.
Right. The brain naturally cycles through periods of high and low attention. So you should structure your work into 90-minute cycles of deep focus, followed by a 20-minute restorative break.
A walk, a chat, just some movement.
Anything to reset. This aligns with the brain's natural energy and attention cycles, and it maximizes your efficiency and prevents the night watchman from triggering burnout.
And finally, blocking the most destructive digital superstimuli.
You have to delete the apps that are specifically designed to destroy your attention span. TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter X, YouTube Shorts. These high-reward, low-information loops train your brain to expect instant gratification and constant novelty. They render it biologically incapable of the sustained, complex thought required for real, deep work. They actively corrode the structural integrity of your focus.
Let's connect these strategies back to stress resilience and tribal design, revisiting our foundational survival modules, but with actionable physical steps.
Yes, we have to become experts at constantly sending immediate safety signals to the night watchman. We have to understand that the threat detector needs literal, physiological cues to calm down.
And the most powerful immediate tool is the physiological sigh.
This is your #1 weapon in the anti-anxiety arsenal. It's those 2 short inhales followed by 1 long, slow exhale.
And that's an evolutionary maneuver.
It is. It instantly downregulates the sympathetic or fight-or-flight nervous system by inflating collapsed alveoli in the lungs and slowing the heart rate. It works faster than almost anything else you can do.
Then we have the temperature reset, which leverages a deep primal reflex.
You can use a cold face splash, put an ice pack on your chest, or just take 30 seconds of a cold shower. This activates the mammalian dive reflex,
Which is hardwired.
to rapidly slow the heart rate and constrict blood vessels, sending this profound, undeniable safety signal to the threat detector. It instantly forces your body out of panic mode.
And when anxiety is rising, but the environment around you is objectively safe, we need the grounding script to reconnect that abstract panic to present reality.
And you have to say aloud, using a firm, calm voice. I am safe. The threat is not in the room with me.
Because the threat detector is literal.
It's extremely literal. This verbal affirmation helps override the emotional, abstract panic, grounding you in your present physical reality, which is presumably secure.
Okay, let's revisit the team player module. The sources are so clear that modern loneliness is a systemic mismatch, not some kind of personal failure. We have to build a tribe by design.
And step 1 is focus selection. Choose 3 to 5 people who consistently demonstrate reliability, who exhibit low drama, who are kind, and who genuinely enjoy your company. Quality, predictability, and safety have to triumph over the infinite strangers offered by modernity.
And step 2, create the weekly ritual. Consistency beats intensity every single time.
Your brain needs the expectation of regular physical interaction to stabilize the belonging circuit. So whether it's Sunday brunch, a Wednesday walk, or a Friday game night, that non-negotiable recurring appointment signals tribal stability and security.
And step 3 is becoming consciously useful within that group.
You have to focus on contribution. Ask each person in your new nascent tribe, how can I make your life easier this week? This immediate focus on utility automatically fosters bonding and ensures the team player module recognizes your value and your essential place within that group structure.
Let's synthesize the long-term relationship advice here. The foundational rule for dating is to avoid the endless choice apps, the porn, the unrealistic standards driven by hyperstimulation. Instead, you focus on the deep 5 non-decaying traits.
And for long-term relationship maintenance, the structure needs to be formalized because the Good Spouse module loves ritual and predictability. A weekly 20-minute meeting is essential.
And it has to be sacred time. Phones away, no distractions.
Absolutely. And the questions you ask are designed to feed both the attachment and the contribution circuits.
The first one is, what felt good this week?
Right, which reinforces those positive illusions in your shared history. And the second one is, what can I do next week to make life easier for you? Which reinforces contribution and utility. This structure builds psychological stability.
And finally, those physical cues that solidify attachment. The 6-second kiss and the 20-second hug.
This is the physiological anchor. Ending the ritual with these powerful attachment cues, a 6-second kiss and a full 20-second hug triggers a substantial release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone. These physical acts send these undeniable ancient signals of safety, commitment, and physical proximity. It stabilizes the relationship keeper module and cements the bond better than any verbal promise ever could.
Okay, now we're moving into the advanced strategies for systemizing life and making high-stakes decisions correctly. We've defined the actors. Now we decide which actor should be running the meeting.
And this starts with what the sources call a roboparasite. The phone, it's not just a tool. Strict, non-negotiable boundaries are required for psychological survival in modernity.
And there are 5 rules for modern digital hygiene that sort of summarize our previous points, but frame them as absolute laws. First, no phone in the bedroom.
This is fundamental. It protects your sleep architecture and prevents that late-night scrolling, which immediately activates the night watchman right when your brain should be powering down.
Second, absolutely no infinite scroll apps.
They are attention destroyers. Third, only essential notifications, calls, and direct messages. Fourth, a weekly digital Sabbath.
A dedicated half-day detox, completely unplugged.
It allows the brain to rest from constant stimulation and recalibrate its reward pathways. It makes real-world activities feel more engaging again. And fifth, grayscale mode, Monday through Friday.
Why grayscale?
Reducing the vibrant color stimuli minimizes the novelty and reward signals. It makes the phone far less compelling to the swinging single and the go-getter modules. Color is attention bait.
This leads to the most advanced concept. The core rule is to deliberately make decisions in the right subself. We need a way to consciously activate the correct module for the task at hand.
Yes, if you make a critical financial decision when the swinging single module, the impulsive one, is activated, you might spend wildly on status items.
Right. Or if you choose a long-term partner when the go-getter, the comparison-driven one, is activated, you might prioritize superficial prestige over actual stability.
We have to intentionally trigger the most suitable internal actor for the job.
Okay, let's walk through this activation mapping. If you're investing money, you need the long-term thinking of the parent module. How do you do that?
To activate the parent, the long-term investor, you consciously hold a sentimental object, maybe a childhood photo or a gift from a relative. This triggers the kin circuit's focus on future investment and continuity. It pulls the decision away from short-term gain.
Okay, what if you're entering a high-stakes negotiation? You need the go-getter activated, but channeled toward productive prestige, not panic dominance.
You straighten your posture. You take up physical space. You speak slowly and deliberately. This physically signals competence and confidence, and it triggers the module to focus on achieving high rank and getting the resources you need.
If you need to apologize and truly mend a breach, you need the empathy of the team player.
You recall a shared positive memory, or you look at a photo of the two of you enjoying a past ritual. This instantly connects you to the belonging circuit, and it facilitates the necessary empathy and concession, prioritizing the bond over your ego.
For breaking a chronic bad habit, we need the defensive power of the survival module, the night watchman.
You use vivid imagery. You imagine the long-term catastrophic danger of continuing the habit, the literal consequence 10 years down the line. This activates the threat detector, and it provides the immediate high-energy motivation you need to avoid that dangerous path.
Choosing a long-term partner requires the sober analysis of the good spouse.
So you focus only on reflection. You think about long-term stability, reliability, and emotional regulation, ensuring the decision is driven by attachment needs and not the novelty seeking of the swinging single.
And finally, creative endeavors like making art or brainstorming. This requires the novelty and aesthetics driven by the swinging single.
So you listen to new complex music, you visit an unfamiliar place, or you immerse yourself in novel aesthetics to trigger that module's primal drive for new patterns and creative output.
Understanding these modules allows us to structure our lives around 7 non-negotiable pillars for our long-term psychological architecture. This ensures all 7 internal actors feel served and secure.
And the foundational 3 are tribe, purpose, and environment.
You have to actively build your tribe through consistency and utility. Define your purpose by focusing on meaning over happiness.
And constantly manage your environment because willpower always fails.
Then we prioritize health and digital control.
Right. Health, which covers the food and movement mismatches we talked about, and digital control, which recognizes the roboparasite as the primary environmental threat that has to be tamed through strategic friction.
And finally, contribution and meaning over happiness.
Contribution ensures the team player and go-getter are satisfied in a stable, prestige-driven way. And reframing your life around meaning over happiness ensures the parent module and all the long-term circuits are prioritized over short-term gratification.
So let's synthesize everything into the ultimate non-negotiable rules for adaptation. These 5 prime directives are the inescapable truth of psychological survival in the modern world.
And Directive 1 is simple. If you rely on willpower, you lose. Willpower is a finite, highly taxing resource. The engineered environment is boundless.
Directive 2. If they design the environment, meaning the tech companies, the food engineers, the media systems, you lose. Because their incentives, which are attention, profit, addiction, are fundamentally misaligned with your ancient well-being.
Directive 3. If you design the environment, if you apply strategic friction, if you remove the roboparasite from the bedroom, and you intentionally create safety signals, you win. This architectural control is the only path to consistency and long-term sanity.
Directive 4. Modern systems exploit your ancient brain, period. Accepting this biological reality that you are fundamentally hackable is the first crucial step toward building resilience.
And the final overarching directive, which really encompasses all the modules, is this. You must build a life that your ancient brain recognizes as safe, meaningful, and achievable. The architecture of your life has to speak the primal language of the Stone Age tribe. Contribution, scarcity management, even if your address is a high-rise apartment in a hyper-modern city.
We've covered a vast amount of complex, actionable ground today. From the 7 competing modules that make up your consciousness, through the specific misfires of the night watchman and the compulsive, right down to the tactical, physical steps like the physiological sigh and the importance of positive illusions in relationships.
The power here really lies in recognizing that survival in modernity is not about finding some superhuman effort. It's about establishing the right psychological architecture.
And this knowledge is the single biggest shortcut to being profoundly well-informed about your own internal operating system. You now have the playbook to stop defensively reacting to this engineered world and start proactively designing your own physical and digital environment to support your ancient brain.
And this leads us to our final thought. If safety, attachment, and meaning are recognized by the brain only through specific ancient cues like a consistent tribe, physical touch, or investing in kin,
Right.
then consider how a hyper-engineered future might evolve to exploit the ultimate modules, the parent circuit or the good spouse circuit.
So what happens when immersive, tailored simulations become so perfect that they can create tribes and partners and even children that are emotionally and visually indistinguishable from the real thing?
Exactly. If the prime directive is to build a life your brain recognizes as meaningful, what new safeguards beyond our current digital hygiene will we need when the cues for attachment, safety, and kin investment are perfectly and perpetually simulated?
Wow, what safeguards do we even build for that?
That's the frontier you need to start preparing for by ensuring your current life is firmly grounded in real, physical, and reliable architecture. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the human operating system.
We'll see you next time.